Right, good afternoon, Year 5. Welcome back. Hope you've had a lovely half term, had a restful time, and, doing well during the lockdown. We're back with another series of The Firework-Maker's Daughter. As always, we're going to start with the recap. Now, last series, we remember that the story was focused on Chulak, who had managed to find the Lady of the Lake, or was it the Lake, Goddess of the Lake, whichever one. And he managed to talk to her. She managed to give him the thing that he was looking for that would help Lila, complete her quest. Otherwise, she would be in great danger, especially since the inside the volcano, the mountain, it was really hot. So, that's where we left off. So, the part we're going to continue on is back to Lila, how she's been getting on. So. By this time, Lila had come to the end of the jungle. Climbing all the time, she moved on and on, as the trees thinned out and the path became a mere track and then vanished altogether. All the jungle sounds, the clicking and buzzing of the insects, the cries of the birds and monkeys, the drip of water off the leaves, the croaking of the little frogs were behind her now. When she had heard them, she had enjoyed their company, but now there was nothing except the sound of her foot on the path and the occasional rumble from the mountain, which was so deep that she felt it through her feet as much as she heard it through her ears. When night fell, she lay down on the stony ground beside a rock and wrapped herself in one blanket. The full moon shone right in her face and kept her awake, and she couldn't get comfortable because the stones on the ground. Finally, she sat up with annoyance. But there was no one to share her annoyance with. She never felt so lonely. I wonder, she began to say, but shook her head. She hadn't come on this journey in order to wonder how things were at home. It was the way things were at home that had made her come on the journey after all. Well, if I can't sleep, I might as well keep walking, she said to herself. She folded her blanket away and retied her sarong and tightened her sandals and set off again. The ground became steeper and steeper. Soon she could no longer see the top of Mount Merapi, so she knew she must be climbing the side of it. There were no plants at all here, not even shrubs or grass, just bare rock and loose stones. And the ground was warm. I'm close, she said to herself. It can't be that far now. But as she said that, she set her foot on a stone, and it rolled under her weight, and she fell, and a dozen other rocks rolled down with her. So we've got a picture here. We've got Lila, who's climbing the side of Mount Merapi, and she's just tripped on some loose stone. All the breath was knocked out of her, and she had none left to cry out with, as the rocks pummeled and battered her. The rocks bounded on down the mountain, until finally they came to a rest a long way below. Lila sat up gingerly. Quick question. Gingerly. Lila sat up gingerly. What could that mean? It's obviously an adverb, but if you were to sit up gingerly, how would you be doing that? Would it be, do you think it's quite quickly? Or do you think it's quite slowly, carefully, quick as a flash? What do you think? Ow, she said. That was silly. I wasn't looking where I was putting my feet. I must be more careful. That might be a clue as to how, what gingerly means. She got up and found that one of her sandals had come off and had tumbled down the mountain with the stones. It was nowhere to be seen. Very delicately, she put her naked foot down and found the ground hot beneath. Oh dear. Well, there was nothing she could do about that. And hadn't she come seeking fire? And hadn't she burnt herself time and again as an apprentice? And what did she need delicate feet for anyway? On she climbed, higher and higher. Before long, she came to a part of the slope where all the stones were loose and where she slid back 2 steps for every 3 she took upwards. What does that mean? That she slid back 2 steps for every 3 that she took upwards. What does that mean? How is she going up? Her feet and legs were bruised and battered, and then she lost her other sandal, and she nearly cried out in despair, because there was no sign of the grotto, just an endless slope of hot, rough stones that tumbled and rolled underfoot. What would she need to be able to travel on hot surface? What do you think? What kind of materials could be on her feet that would help her with this sort of like situation? And her throat was parched and her lungs were painted in the hot, thin air, and she fell to her knees and clung with trembling fingers as the stones began to roll under her again. She let go her little bag of food and her blanket. They didn't matter anymore. The only thing that mattered was climbing on. She dragged herself on bleeding knees up and up until every muscle hurt, until she had no breath left in her lungs, until she thought she was going to die, and still she went on. How do you think she's feeling at this moment with this whole situation? It seems no matter how much she tried, she doesn't seem to be able to make her way up. Then one stone, bigger than the rest, began to shift above her as the little stones beneath it tumbled down. It slid and rolled towards her, and she had no strength to move. But at the last second, it bounded over her and rolled on down the mountainside in a cloud of dust and pebbles. Where it had been, there was a great hole, as tall as a house. The moonlight shone into it a little way, but the hole went deeper still, right into the heart of the mountain. A gust of sulphur-laden smoke came billowing out, and Lila, she knew that she had found her goal. It was the grotto of the Fire Fiend. And that's where we end for chapter 4. So while she was struggling up, she comes across this massive hole the size of a house. And, well, she thinks it's going to lead down to the heart of the grotto of the Fire Fiend, where she's, that's where she's going to get what she needs from there. So my question to you is, what do you think is going to happen next? Because she's found her fire grotto, but she doesn't have the protection that she needs, that Chulak currently had, when he obtained it from the lake goddess. So what's going to happen? Is Chulak too late? Is Lila going to be okay going down into the middle? Is she going to become a Firework-Maker's daughter? We'll find out in the next episode. Just before I finish, the next episode is going to be run by Miss Qureshi. So tune in, enjoy, and maybe later you can tell me who read it better. I'm only joking.